when I have Tony Dungy on. There's a couple things. Obviously, Tony, who had the opportunity to coach Peyton Manning for 7 years, and then you got Andrew Luck there now with Peyton Manning coming back. But Tony joins us now. Tony, first of all, last time you were on, when I asked you the question about USC, and you said that you had somebody contact you, and then all of a sudden we heard maybe it was somebody pranking you. And I just want to clear that up because this person who claims that they called and pranked you to give you the job, that wasn't the case, right?
No, that's exactly right, Dan. Apparently there's been someone who has been kind of impersonating or cranking people as a joke, but this was a call from someone who was not part of the USC search committee, but someone who was close to the situation. It wasn't official. I talked to Pat Hayden and definitely, apologized for the whole thing. It wasn't somebody that he had authorized, and I think that's the biggest thing. But it was not a crank call and wasn't part of this ongoing charade.
I know you get a lot of calls, but I didn't know that they were going to now start pranking you to get phone calls here.
Well, I guess that's it's all in our society now. But I know Pat was very concerned about what's been going on and just trying to keep the search upright, and I definitely can appreciate that. But yeah, people, you don't know what's going on in people's minds now.
All right, let's talk about Andrew Luck. Before we get to Luck and the Colts against Peyton and the Broncos, watching last night with Andrew Luck, I feel like these other young quarterbacks have a little bit more latitude with the offense than Andrew Luck does. Am I seeing things correctly here, or am I reading something into this?
Well, they've definitely changed with Pep Hamilton, no question about it. Last year, I think it was a little more free-flowing. Andrew got hit a lot. They had problems with sacks and protecting him. And I think Chuck Pagano wanted to get into a situation where he doesn't open him up to a lot of hits. And I think they are playing more conservative. They obviously went out and got Trent Richardson trying to build that running game. But I think you're going to see as this season progresses where they're going to have to let Andrew create and flow. I mean, that's who he is, and that's when you're going to get the best of him.
Would you have him throw more, run less? It seems like they're committed to the running game. So
they are trying to build the running game, and Chuck believes that's the way you win. But I think the more he's around Andrew and the more you see what this guy can do, you want the ball in his hands in the big situations. And, they got 9 points last night and got stuck in the red zone some. If I'm going to kick field goals, I want to kick field goals going down with Andrew Luck throwing the ball.
All right, now you have this game on Sunday night. And I know that Peyton Manning, as you've told me many, many times, is a creature of habit. If you have a pregame celebration ceremony for Peyton, there has to be part of this where Peyton says, you can have me for this amount of time and that's it. I mean, if I'm the Colts, I want to disrupt Peyton in any way I can while also sort of embracing him with everything he did for the franchise. How does that affect
Absolutely.
Peyton?
Yeah, it's a win-win situation for the Colts. You want to embrace him. You want to show that love, and I know Jim Irsay will do that, and it'll be tremendous, and it will give the fans a chance to say thank you. So that's going to be fantastic. It also is going to throw off Peyton's routine, and I know, knowing Peyton, he's going to say, no, I don't want to be any part of it. I want to do what I've always done, come out X minutes before, throw to these guys for this time. Don't disrupt anything. But he's going to have to live with it. It's going to be part of it, and it will be emotional. I know, Dan, when I went back to Tampa, you do everything in your mind. I'm going to keep it the same. It's not going to be any different. But you walk in the visiting locker room, which you've never been in before. You come out the other tunnel for the first time ever, but you still see the same faces. You see the people that have sat in those same seats for 10 years. You see the grounds crew people and the guys that have taken care of your field all that time. You see the trainers and, not to mention a guy like Reggie Wayne that you've thrown balls to for 11 years. So it's going to be very difficult to say this is just another game and I'm going to do everything the same way.
Explain Peyton's pregame ritual.
Well, he's changed a little bit since I had him, but he used to come out 2 hours before the game and throw the route tree to all the receivers and throw specific things that they were going to have to do that night and start from the short passing game to the deep route, throw X number of balls, even before the rest of the team came out. And then he'd always want to know what the routine was. And we had a 19-minute pregame warm-up. from the time he was out till the time we ran our last play. Then we'd come back into the locker room. It was 14 minutes from that last play until the introduction. So that's how we did that for 7 years, and that's how he likes it. That's what he would prefer. Now you have that routine, whatever it is in Denver, and now you say, well, instead of those 14 minutes, it's going to be 20 minutes because we're going to have a 6-minute presentation. Those are the things that you can't control, and those are the things that he will want not to have.
How much of this is personal for him? I don't know if he feels this way. You'd have better insights of, let me show the Colts, what they passed on, or just to remind you of just how great I am. How much of a competitor is he to make this a little more personal with his performance?
Oh, there's no question about it that he loves that city. He loves Jim Irsay. But they did make a decision. They had to make a decision, and they made it for what was best for their franchise. But he's going to want to come back and show what he can do, no question about it. When I went back to Tampa, we were 4-0, and you want to get to 5-0, and it's all about the team. But you can't say it doesn't mean a little more to you, and you want to win that game, and you want to show, okay, you didn't think I could do the job for you going forward. Here's a look.
Yeah, that's what's interesting with this, that there's part of him that says, look, I'm the best quarterback, and you guys decided to move on. If you were the coach at that time, and you and I had many discussions about this, I said they have so moved on from Peyton because they get Andrew Luck. Even what you know about Andrew Luck right now and the way Peyton is playing, who would you rather have? As you're moving forward, obviously, you don't know how long Peyton's going to play, but you can have Luck or Peyton Manning right now.
Well, I'd take Peyton Manning. I mean, I would take Andrew Luck right now for the next 15 years. But knowing what we know now, if we'd known Peyton was going to be totally healthy and play like this, I know Jim Irsay would have made the decision. And had I been there as a head coach, I would have seconded it. Let's go forward with Peyton. Let's trade that number 1 pick for that same bonanza that Cleveland was trying to give. And so what RG3 cost the Redskins, let's get all that, get ourselves some receivers, some offensive linemen, let's go forward with Peyton for 3 more years and see if we can win a couple of Super Bowls. But they didn't know that. They didn't know his health. They didn't know he was going to be able to throw the ball that well, and so you couldn't pass on Andrew Luck at that point. But with 20/20 hindsight, I'm sure that's what they would have done.
Tony Dungy from Football Night in America joining us, Dan Patrick Show. Chip Kelly going to go with Foles again over Michael Vick?
I think he'll go with Foles this week because I don't think those hamstrings you can get over that quickly. And Michael Vick, without being able to move, is not the same threat. But I do know this from my time being around Chip for 3 years. I really believe that when Michael Vick is back 100% and can go, he'll be the quarterback because Chip believes in that. Now, Foles played very well last week. This week will be a different test, but I don't think Vic's ready to go. I think you'll see Foles this week.
When Peter King brought that up on Sunday night, that you have some quarterback-needy teams, 2 of them, that thought Marcus Mariota would be the number 1 overall pick against Teddy Bridgewater, or if it was going to be Johnny Manziel or Jadeveon Clowney. Your thoughts on Marcus Mariota?
Well, Marcus, he's a franchise quarterback. He's a great young man. He can throw the football. He's got poise. He's big. He's almost 6'5". He's got all the things you look for. He is a leader, and people looking for this mobility in this day and age. I mean, this is a legitimate 4.45 guy who is a big pocket passer. So I can see where people get enthralled with him. And really, he's only played a year and a half. He redshirted. Played last year, played half a season this year. His future is ahead of him. He's going to be better and better. I hope Marcus stays in another year. But if he comes out, I could, he's got more potential than a lot of these guys.
What about Manziel?
Manziel, you have to be committed just like you did with Tebow. You got to let him create. You've got to build your offense around what he does. You've got to sell out to Johnny Manziel. Now, he's going to win games for you. He's going to make things happen. He's a little bit like Robert Griffin in that, you've got to take the bitter with the sweet. You've got to let him move. You got to let him get hit, all of those things. But he's a winner. And, if I'm a Jacksonville or a team that hasn't won, you got to look at taking a winner.
Well, he also will put people in the seats. I don't know how much of that factors in with draft picks anymore, Tone, but if I'm Jacksonville and I can take Teddy Bridgewater, Johnny Manziel. I take Manziel because I need a healthier franchise, and I don't know if we're going to win right away, but I have a fascination there with Manziel. I don't know if Bridgewater's a better pro quarterback, but Manziel's going to put people in the seats. How much would that affect what Jacksonville does?
Well, it really is determined by who is calling the shots in that draft room. How much is the owner involved? The ownership has to think about that. As a coach, you're not thinking about that at all. You think, you know what, we're going to put people in the seats by winning, and so let me get the best player that can help us win. As a GM, you're tied into that too, because you know your future depends on winning. But if the owner comes in and says, hey, you know, we want to do this, you know, that's what's going to happen. I remember when we were in Pittsburgh, I was a young coach, and Art Rooney Sr. loved Dan Marino. And we had Terry Bradshaw already there, and if the chief had been calling the shots, we would have taken Marino. But Dan Rooney and Chuck Noll, they're thinking about the immediate future and winning games, and we went another direction. But every organization is not like that. And depending on how much the owner is involved, selling tickets does become a big priority.
But Bradshaw, didn't he retire the next year?
Shortly after, yeah, and 20 years of looking for quarterbacks, and that's why Jim Irsay is a historian, and he saw that, and he and I talked about that. And so you couldn't, at that point, with the doubt about Peyton, you couldn't pass on Andrew Luck, who everyone was saying, this is a franchise quarterback. There was no doubt about Luck, where there were some doubts on Marino. A lot of people passed him. But you couldn't afford to do that and then have Peyton only play a year or two more, and then you're searching for a quarterback down the road. It was definitely the right thing to do.
Good stuff. I'll see you on Sunday.
Sounds good, Dan. Looking forward to it.
All right, buddy. That's Tony Dungy, Football Night in America.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.